"Can I have some water?" she asked a stranger. Then he took her to dinner in a limo. The asphalt glistened like a dark mirror when exposed to the intense heat of the July sun. Instead of feeling like a performance artist putting on her most recent work, the Human Connection Project, Elara Vale had the impression that she was more like a beetle that was slowly frying on a pavement. Her carefully manicured, disheveled, but approachable image, worn sundress, artistically smeared cheeks, had tipped into actual, sweat-drenched desperation. Additionally, her water bottle, which was an essential prop, was found lying empty next to her backpack, which contained covert cameras and audio recorders. She thought to herself in a gloomy tone that irony is a cruel choreographer. Her gaze traveled through the never-ending stream of fashionable sunglasses and suits that were worn throughout lunchtime. After then, she caught a glimpse of him, without being in a hurry or preoccupied with a phone. "I am only watching." Silas Thorne was standing next to a town automobile made of obsidian materials that was idling with a predatory stillness. His face was a landscape of sharp angles and guarded intensity, and it was framed by black hair that was stained with silver. He was not particularly gorgeous in the traditional sense. His black suit seemed to be unaffected by the city's furnace breath, giving it an unfathomably chilly appearance. "Can I have some water?" Elara sputtered, the words pricking her throat as she spoke. While she did so, she maintained eye contact with him, channeling every ounce of her skilled and sensitive artistry into the appeal. This was the most important aspect of her project. To what far would the generosity of a stranger go? Is he willing to propose a bottle? Is it $1? Do you disregard her? Silas did not show any signs of blinking. In a manner that was not one of sympathy, but rather one of unsettling evaluation, his eyes, which were a stunningly light gray, swept over her. He did not grab for his pocket or his automobile at any point. Instead, he gestured towards the idling automobile, the water, with no doubt. Nevertheless, it is possible that something more significant is required. It seems as if you may benefit from more than just hydration. Come with me. The internal alarms of Elara began to sound. However, this was not the script. Between professional interest and hesitation, there was a battle. The raw data shown here was an intriguing divergence. Her attempt at a nod was feeble. Just water first, please." With a simple flick of his fingers, the back door of the town vehicle opened without making any noise. A subtle scent of leather and something costly, such as sandalwood and ozone, could be detected within the building, which had an icy atmosphere. The sound of a cooler was audible. Elara made the observation that Silas got a crystal tumbler that was filled with cold water and presented it to her. The tumbler was made of genuine crystal. Instantaneously, the condensation formed beads on the glass, which felt lukewarm on her skin. With a great sense of relief, she drank with relish. "Better." His voice was low, quiet, like stones resting at the bottom of a deep lake. "A great deal." "I am grateful to you." Elara came up with her departure remark, which was the one that thanked him and brought the conversation to a tidy conclusion. His words came first. "It is Elara Vale. It is the Tisch School of the Arts at New York University. Just 2 years ago, you graduated at the top of your class. Your senior thesis, which was titled Fragile Interfaces, investigated vulnerable situations that were recreated in public places." This is rather provocative. On his wrist, he touched a slender, silver gadget that was not a watch, but rather something more sophisticated. It was Silas Thorne. "I am the source of funding." Occasionally, things that are provocative. Elara became completely still when the icy glass suddenly caught fire in her grasp. He was aware. Hidden cameras gave the impression of being a beacon of betrayal. The project she was working on, her anonymity, and her control were all damaged. How? "Facial recognition is rudimentary these days, Miss Vale," he remarked, a shadow of something approximating humor crossing his lips. "Facial recognition is a relatively new concept. Additionally, your project idea was disseminated to a number of other funding application pools. I did not commit to funding it." I found the technique to be problematic from an ethical view, using unsuspecting participants without consent. Unrefined while he waited, he allowed the judgment to linger. But seeing it executed live, there's a certain chutzpah. There was a conflict between humiliation and wonder. Now, what exactly is this? Someone to intervene? A presentation? Consider it a counter-performance, Silas stated in a slick-speaking manner. As the automobile started to move ahead, it blends in with the flow of traffic without making any noise. In order to test the connection, you manufactured a vulnerability. To put you to the test, I am giving connection. Dinner is served. Somewhere that is peaceful. A little lowering of the divider occurred before Elara could raise her objections. There was a mumble from Silas, the usual, Charles. The automobile raced smoothly, the cityscape blurring. It was not only a town vehicle. The inside space was enormous, with soft velvet seats facing each other, and ambient lighting that changed from a chilly blue to a warmer gold depending on the situation. An automobile that is camouflaged as something more understated. Where are we going? With her artist mind cataloging every aspect, Elara inquired. Her considerations included the feel of the chairs, the subtle thrum of the strong engine, and the eerie serenity of the guy who was sitting opposite her. Somewhere the water, and just a prop, Silas said in a mysterious manner. At some point, the performance will come to an end, and maybe something new will start now. If it does not, as of right now, it is the experiment, isn't it? They did not arrive at a dazzling restaurant in a tower. Rather, they landed at a home in the West Village that was covered with ivy and was modest. It was a surprise to see that the inside included a single, small dining room that was illuminated by candlelight and looked out over a secret courtyard garden. Only one table, there is no personnel visible. Silas led her to the table and seated her. Miss Vale, the most opulent luxury is the right to privacy. No unaware subjects are allowed here, just to performers who are willing to give their permission. Or maybe, for a minute, just to individuals. The lunch was a dream come true. There was a transparent sphere that was bursting with cool tomato water and basil, slivers of Wagyu beef on black lava salt, and a little garden of delicious flowers and foraged greens. Each meal came in a discreet manner via a panel that was not visible to the naked eye. The dishes were excellent and tasted like distilled essence. Where is the water? Each of the carafes was made of hand-blown glass and came from a different famous spring, such as a glacier melt in Norway, a deep aquifer in Patagonia, or rainfall from Hawaii that had been purified by volcanic activity. This water, Silas continued as he poured her a glass of the Norwegian melt, which was so transparent that it seemed to be invisible in the glass, is older than civilizations. The legacy of ice eras is embedded into it. The most fundamental human need was the one that you requested while you were out on the street. An art form has been created out of that desire, and this is it. Both are composed of water. Both are necessary for life. However, the circumstances, Miss Vale, completely alter everything, similar to the vulnerability you exhibit when walking along the street. Your artwork was the context. It is the truth that is the context here. Also, the act of pursuing it. The weapon was taken away from Elara. His mind was like a knife, allowing him to dissect her endeavor and her reasons for doing it. Art, ethics, the isolating aspect of riches, and the manufactured identities of contemporary life were some of the topics that they discussed vocally throughout their argument. She opposed his gilded seclusion, and he addressed the cynicism that was present in her endeavor. He stated he'd supported her education at NYU anonymously. Talent should be nurtured, not indebted. It was revealed to her that his wealth was not attained via inheritance, but rather through the sale of esoteric quantum computer methods that were pioneered before anybody understood their full potential. Silas leaned back as the dessert was brought to the table, which was a single, flawless quenelle of saffron ice that was powdered with gold leaf. Elara, were you under the impression that I was only another mark for your project? On the other hand, the instant you decided to go with me, I went with you. It's not only that I was familiar with your game, because I made a different observation. What? Elara inquired, her shield suddenly dropping as a result of the closeness and the sheer strangeness of the situation. It was genuine exhaustion, he noted. The sun was in fact there, your thirst was genuine. Under the stage, there was a young lady who was being pushed to her physical limits for the sake of her artistic endeavors. That is not acting at all, that was the spark of realism your project unfortunately required. It piqued my interest, it jogged my memory of. He stopped off, seeming to be a little bit older, and said, that beneath the layers we all construct, the fundamental needs, water, connection, recognition, remain starkly, vulnerably human. He pondered for a while, his gray eyes capturing hers. As a counter-performance, I presented you with the most carefully crafted and fake atmosphere that you could possibly imagine. Despite this, I was hoping to have a true and spontaneous moment of connection inside it. Is it successful? Or was this just another layer of performance? He said, gesturing around the room that was flawless before him. What if my money, my solitude, and my loneliness were used as instruments? The trip back in the limo was peaceful, with the city lights painting streaks of color over the inside of the vehicle, which was dark. He left her off close to her place, and the limo vanished into the darkness as quietly as it had arrived. Elara stood on the pavement, the reverberation of glacial water on her tongue, the aroma of sandalwood and candle wax clinging to her clothes. She was enjoying the experience. Every single thing had been captured by her covert cameras. But suddenly the tape seemed empty, like it was a leftover from a more straightforward attempt. Silas Thorne hadn't simply taken her to dinner in a limo. He demolished her thesis and rebuilt it into something immeasurably more intricate. He had not been her accidental subject, rather, he had been her mirror, reflecting the unsettling ambiguity that existed between performance and reality, between a want for water and a yearning for something far more profound. The undertaking was a failure, or perhaps we are just getting started. The crystal tumbler that he had discreetly pushed into her palm as she was leaving was still cold to the touch, despite the fact that it was empty. While she was going towards her building, she came to the realization that the most significant performances are not the ones that we produce, but rather the ones in which the borders between the actress and the audience, as well as the lines between artifice and reality, become gloriously and terrifyingly blurred. It wasn't yet finished with the experiment. The laboratory had recently been moved, and she was uncertain about who was in charge of it at this point.